Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's dive in. Edward Bishop was born in a small, struggling farming community in eastern Oregon. His family's story was far from idyllic. His father, Alistair, inherited a modest piece of land from his grandfather and, with youthful optimism, convinced his wife, Marlene, to move there and start a life as farmers. Unfortunately, farming wasn't Alistair's calling. The only things he cultivated were debts and frustration. Eventually, he left Marlene for a waitress from a roadside bar, not too different from the one Edward found himself sitting in now. Unwilling to remain stuck in a hopeless situation, Marlene took 7-year-old Edward and moved to Portland. She divorced Alistair but chose to keep Edward's last name as a reminder of his father's legacy, for better or worse. In Portland, Marlene took a job as a receptionist at a downtown bank while pursuing her dream of becoming a nurse. She enrolled in classes at PSU, juggling work, study, and motherhood with quiet resilience. But life had other plans. When Edward was 10, tragedy struck. On her way to work one morning, Marlene's car was hit by a truck on a bridge. The impact sent her vehicle over the railing into the river below. It took rescuers a full day to recover her body. She hadn't been wearing a seatbelt. Just like that, Marlene's life ended, and Edward's world turned upside down. Foster care years with no immediate family to take him in, Edward entered the foster care system. For the next 7 years, he bounced between homes along the Portland-Salem corridor, each one more temporary than the last. Stability was a distant dream. Edward developed a knack for survival, but it often got him into trouble. Fights became routine, and petty thefts added to his growing reputation as a troubled kid. When Edward turned 17, his life hit a breaking point. Grieving his mother's loss and seeking belonging, he joined a gang. The gang life didn't fill the emptiness inside him, but for a while, it gave him a sense of purpose, a twisted sense of family. The criminal acts and stolen merchandise weren't important, it was the camaraderie that mattered. Or so he told himself. One reckless decision changed everything. Edward and his gang decided to burn down a police station. A stupid idea in hindsight, but they thought it would be a blast. The law didn't share their humor. Edward and his friends were caught, convicted, and sentenced to jail until they turned 21. Reinvention through labor jail wasn't easy, but Edward adapted. Word got around that he'd been locked up for torching a police station, earning him a mix of respect and notoriety. After serving his time, Edward emerged with scars, both physical and emotional. He wandered the Pacific Northwest, taking on hard, back-breaking jobs, apple-picking in eastern Washington, hauling fish in Seattle, and working ranches in Pendleton. Though tough, the work was honest. It kept him grounded, gave him spending money, and kept his mind off the emptiness inside. A life-changing encounter in 1995, fate intervened. Walking down a dusty country road in central Washington, Edward came across a broken-down sports car. Steam billowed from under the hood, and standing beside it was the most stunning woman he had ever seen. "Looks like you've got a problem there, Mom," Edward said, keeping a respectful distance. The woman startled, then relaxed when she realized he wasn't a threat. "Yeah, something went bang under the hood. I think I'm lost, too." Edward grinned. "You sure are. The town you're looking for is that way, not this way." They chatted as he fixed her car, and sparks flew. Her name was Laura Parker, and by the time Edward got her back on the road, his life had taken a new direction. Marriage and success. Edward and Laura dated for a year before getting married. Her father owned a construction company, and Edward's hard-working reputation earned him a job there. Over time, he climbed the ranks, from carpenter to foreman to managing the company alongside Laura. By 2000, they were trying for kids and living what seemed like a perfect life. But behind closed doors, cracks were forming. The betrayal 2 days ago, Edward overheard a conversation at work that shattered his world. Does Edward know about Laura? Not a chance. If he did, he'd lose it. Edward's blood ran cold. His wife had been cheating on him, with multiple men, it seemed. The anger and betrayal churned within him. The confrontation. Edward confronted Laura and her latest lover, Jack, in their bedroom. With the shotgun cradled in his arms, Edward's calm, venomous tone sent chills through the room. The situation escalated, emotions ran high, and Edward made both Laura and Jack face the consequences of their actions in a way they would never forget. Ending scene now, Sitting at Sammy's Roadhouse nursing a beer, Edward reflected on everything. The betrayal, the lies, and the rage were still fresh. Life as he knew it was over, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Edward Bishop had survived worse. And this time, he was determined to rebuild, on his own terms. Would you like me to focus on specific aspects of the story or further refine this version?